In this video, I'm going to show you a super quick and powerful shading method. It's stupidly simple to set up, completely procedural, and will change the way you animate material transitions. So I've got this keyboard here, and I want to transition from a black material to a white material. There are multiple different ways to do this, but for today, I'm going to demonstrate this with the most powerful technique. Before we can create the effect, we need to unwrap our model. Don't worry, it's super easy. We're just going to project our UVs from a top-down perspective. So in the UV editor, I'll press 7 on my number pad to go to the top view. I'll then jump into edit mode, select all my faces and press U on the keyboard. This will then open the unwrap window and I'll select project from view. We can now place our unwrapped mesh in the editor to something like this. I'll repeat the process for the bottom half of the keyboard and we can now create the material transition. So back to the shading editor, let's set up the effect. First, create a new material and make 2 principled BSDFs. We're going to transition from one to the other, so I'll add in a mix shader node here and plug them both in. The top shader I'll change to black and the bottom I'll change to white. Let's now make that sweet transition. I'll start by grabbing a color ramp, set to constant, and a gradient texture. Plug the color ramp into the factor of the mix shader and the gradient into the color ramp. Just like that, we already have the beginnings of the effect. Let's now advance this by adding a mix RGB node and a noise texture. Plug the noise factor into color 1 and the gradient into color 2. We can now play with the noise settings to get something that we're happy with. Moving on, let's now take this one step further before combining everything for the final effect. First, select the gradient and press Ctrl T to get the mapping and coordinate nodes. This whole time we've been using generated coordinates, so let's change this to UV instead. This will now drastically change the effect to conform to the unwrap that we did earlier. Now let's get a separate XYZ node and place it here. We've now got complete control over the direction of the transition simply by swapping the X, Y, and Z channel. For my setup, I'm using the Y channel and I'll place an invert node here to get the transition to go from left to right. So we have the effect set up now, and the very last step is to animate the effect. Let's open up a timeline and I'll go to the start of my animation and find the point where the keyboard starts rotating. On the color ramp, I'll pull the white color stop to the very end, so only the white material is showing. Then on the color ramp's position, I'll hover my mouse over the slider and press I on the keyboard to insert a keyframe. Make sure this bar turns yellow. This indicates a keyframe has been made. I'll then scrub the timeline until the keyboard has finished its rotation, and then pull the white color stop back so only the black material is showing. Again, hover your cursor over the position and press I to insert that final keyframe. Once done, you have successfully created your material transition. Now keep in mind that this effect is completely procedural, meaning that at any time you can swap out the texture to get a wildly differentiating result. Here are just a few I was able to make in no time at all. Now this is cool, but if you want to level up your animation to the next level, you'll want to watch this video here. Thanks for watching.